Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on the table near the entrance to the building and give it to, actually on either counter, and give it to the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others in their choice of words or actions. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council Wednesday, January 12th to order and ask Mr. Navy, could you please leave us in an invocation followed by a pledge of allegiance?
Thank you, Heavenly Father. We come to you again today, asking for your many blessings for this council meeting. We ask that you guide us in the right direction. We ask you to continue to protect the people of these parishes and the people that still need help. We ask this all in you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Keith, roll call.
Mr. Amade?
Here.
Ms. Domingue?
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Babin?
Here.
Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Trosclair?
Here.
Mr. Navy?
Here.
Mr. Harding?
Here.
Mr. Michaud?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. Item 1, election of the 2022 council chair, Mr. Steve Trosclair.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Darren Guidry.
Any other nominations? Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Mr. John Amade.
Okay, we have 2 nominations. Any more nominations? We have a motion to close nominations. Mr. Steve Trosclair, seconded by Mr. John Amade. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Keith, would you call roll call?
Mr. Amade?
Amade.
Ms. Domingue?
Mr. Guidry.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Guidry.
Mr. Babin?
Mr. Amade.
Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Mr. Amade.
Mr. Trosclair? Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding?
Darren Guidry.
Mr. Michaud?
Mr. Amade.
Thank you very much for your support. Now we move on to election of the 2022 council vice chair. Mr. Harding.
I nominate Jessica Domingue.
We have a nomination for Ms. Domingue. Any other nominations? Mr. Amade.
I'll let Mr. Babin.
Mr. Babin.
Mr. John Amade.
Okay, any more nominations? A motion to close by Mr. Steve Trosclair, seconded by
Second.
Ms. Domingue. All in favor say aye. Mr. Keith, roll call.
Mr. Amade?
Amade.
Ms. Domingue?
Domingue.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Domingue.
Mr. Babin?
Amade.
Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Amade.
Mr. Trosclair? Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding?
Domingue.
Mr. Michaud?
Congratulations, Ms. Domingue.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything? Well, actually, you can switch chairs if you like.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Dove?
Yes, on behalf of the administration, I want to congratulate y'all and thank the council. You know, in these times, it's so important that we work together, move forward for the better of Terrebonne Parish. And, you know, Darren, you've been up here for a year, and this will be your second year. And, you know, it's been great working with you as well as the rest of the council. And Jessica, the administration looks forward to working with you. And, you know, these trying times, the parish has really strived through hurricanes, through the COVID, and you know, we've come out strong each time. So, what a way to show the unity of this parish and getting together, the parish government when it comes to Hurricane Ida and of course the COVID, which has hit so many of us, and we've lost some dear loved ones. So with that, I want to thank each and every one of you up here. and of course the administration. I want to thank all of my guys and gals and the department heads and employees of Terrebonne Parish for a job well done. And because it's not as far from over with, but we moving forward. Thank you all very much.
You're welcome, Mr. Michel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to congratulate our new chairman, Darren Guidry. This is the first time since I've been on the council in the past 6 years that a councilman has been elected 2 consecutive years. It goes to show you that if you're willing to sacrifice your word and your morals, you can get whatever perceived power you seek. While the perceived power is not important to me, it's obviously important to Chairman Guidry. Perhaps this is what we can expect when he runs for parish president next term. He'll say whatever we want to hear, so he'll get what he wants. Or worse yet, he'll succumb to any temptation that a former parish president might provide. But that's not my purpose of this statement. What I truly want to do this evening is to apologize to Councilman Dirk Guidry, Councilman Danny Babin, and Councilman John Amedee. A year ago, I assured these 3 councilmen that while I frequently disagree with Councilman Darren Guidry, he is a man of honor, and if he gives us his word, he will absolutely keep it. Sadly, tonight he's proven me wrong, as wrong as I've ever been in my life. Last year, he shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and gave me a commitment which allowed him to be elected chairman.
All right.
Based upon his actions today.
All right, Mr. Michel. Mr. Michel, look. Hey. Mr. Michel. His mic's on.
Please, gentlemen, accept my apologies.
Unity in this council is very important. And I think we had unity last year. I hope we have unity in the future. Hopefully this is not an example of what we're going to see for the next year, because it's so important that we work together for the good of government. And I'll let everybody know I don't do backroom deals, and I'm not going to do backroom deals. I'm going to make my decisions at the time that the decisions will be made for the best of this parish. And I'm not going to make a deal with somebody a year ago, or I didn't make a deal. But you don't do backroom deals. And if that's what Mr. Michel believed was going on, I apologize. But I'm not going to take a party of that. Mr. Harding.
I'm not apologizing for nothing. And I'm trying to say here is that my position on this board is actually, and my campaign promise to the people was to bridge the gap. There is some division here. There's no reason for any animosity. A year ago is a year ago. I don't think when I ran for chairman and I lost by a 5-4 vote, and I did not treat no one here any different from anything else. I maintained the affairs of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. A vote is a vote. There's no insurrection up here. We should actually honor the vote and don't go back in the past and go forward and just work together for the betterment of the people. It's not about money, power, and prestige. We're all citizens of Terrebonne Parish up here. And my objective is not to say who's the chairman and who's the vice chairman, who can actually work together and for the betterment of Terrebonne Parish. This is unheard of, regardless of whether he was, well, that's not my point. My point is I expect unity up here amongst my colleagues, and I'm actually, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. If it is what it is, you know what I mean? And if I had to talk about my offense and what offense to me, I got the love of Jesus with me. So I love all of y'all, and hopefully all of us can work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Navy?
Yes, my comments are just basically simple, and I want to acknowledge that definitely you got some elected official, Lonnie up here, Garba, and the sheriff. And the sheriff, I've always told you that you are a man of true honor, and you're one of the true leaders of this parish. And I want to thank you for coming to this meeting. I just want to try to make this parish understand that we need to work together as a parish, okay? Because when we start doing these kind of things like this, we took an oath to serve all the people of Terrebonne Parish, not just the people in our district. And I made this comment once before. When we start doing these things and all this kind of stuff, tossing stones or whatever, I don't care who's the council chair or vice chair, whatever. But when we look at each other's district and we attack things of people's natures, we basically attacking other people that they represent also. And I do truly believe this. If you're going to represent anybody or somebody, you have to represent the whole parish. And I just don't like the sentiments of this parish direction that it's going in. I don't think that we need to be up here as a split council, but unfortunately, we are apparently that, and it doesn't necessarily need to happen. But I will say this, and I'm going to make my comments tonight, Council Chairman and Vice Chairman. Mr. Navy do not want to be chairman or vice chairman of no committees. I don't want any of that things. Whoever wants the titles, they can have it. But at the end of the day, I think when you will be remembered with your work is going to be the good work you have done for the people, not what title you held, okay? And I'm going to truly turn to the spiritual value of that, because if you do the good works of the Lord, you're going to be remembered by your good works, not what you was titled as when you was sitting up here or anywhere else. So it doesn't matter what your title is. It's a matter what your good work is. And that's why I try to do my good deeds, because I know that's how when I leave this earth, when I go up there, I'm hoping that's where I'll be judged at, like that, not what my title was. And that's why I told them last time when Mr. Guidry called me, he said, Mr. Navy, do you want any chairman? You're one of the leaders, you and Dirk Guidry of this. I said, no, I don't want to be vice chairman or chairman. I just want you to support and help me do for my community and the people of this parish. So that's the foundation that we need to be standing on, what we do for people, not what our titles are. So once again, chairman and vice chairman, congratulations. I do not want to be no chairman or no committee or vice chairman. Just help me to serve the people of Terrebonne Parish and the district that I represent. Thank you all. I hope you all take this under real consideration, what I'm saying again tonight, that I warned you all before.
And I'm a member of the Homer Rotary Club, and in Rotary we have a creed. Before you act, do, or say anything, you do a 4-way test. And that test is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And the 4th is, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And that's the key. I'm going to recognize you, Mr. Michel. Hopefully what you're about to say, you go through these 4 tests before you say it, but I'm going to go ahead and recognize you.
Thank you. Out of kindness, I'm not going to reply to what you just said. But it's not about backroom deals. It's about compromises. Government is running compromises at all levels, okay? We do things to help someone else with their district or with their situation, and in return, they're going to do something to help us. So it's not about a backroom deal. And please remember the first part of the Rotary thing. Is it the truth, or is it a lie, or whatever you said it was? Because I can't believe what I heard come out of your mouth. Thank you.
All right, moving along. Approve minutes of the regular council session held on December 1st, 2021. Move Mr. John Amity, second Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Distribute minutes of the regular council session held on December 15th, 2021, which we've done. Approve accounts payable bill list for December 20th, 2021, December 27th, 2021, January 3rd, 2022, and January 10th, 2022. Moved by Mr. Harding. Second, Ms. Domingue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Approve manual checklist for November 2021. Move Mr. Steve Trosclair. Second, Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Any approved? Any opposed? Manual checklists are approved. General business. Discussion relative to the 2021 property tax and property tax billing. Mr. Grabert. Come on. There it goes.
Is it working?
It is.
Okay. Good evening, and thanks for having me here tonight. Councilwoman Jessica Domingue had called me a couple weeks ago and asked me to come give a little explanation of what I'm doing since with the properties of reevaluation since the storm. So I'll just give you a brief breakdown. According to revised statute 47, 1978, the law says after a natural disaster that I have to revalue all property that has been damaged from the storm or the natural disaster. As you can imagine, with 11 people in the office with 58,000 parcels, doing it one-on-one is almost impossible. So what I done, I reached out to Calcasieu Parish. They actually went through this 2 years in a row, twice in 1 year, and kind of picked the brain of the assessor over there and asked how they handled the reassessment of the properties. So what I decided to do was, based on what they had done, is I cut all residential properties by 10% this year, and I cut all commercial properties by 15%. Now, we're just talking real property. We're not talking inventory, machines, equipment, stuff like that. Basically, what that does is if you just had roof damage, that 10% on residential will cover a roof, and that 15% will cover the roof damage on a commercial building. So if you sustain more than that, what we're asking is to bring in your itemized insurance claim. All we want to see, I don't care how much you're insured for, you can black it out. I'm really not interested in that. I just need to see what the total loss is. We're going through the claim, we're picking out certain things in it that we do not tax, and it's basically the structural damage, and we are subtracting that amount from the building or the residence or the building, backing out the 15% already given and the 10% already given. So you're not getting that extra percentage. And sending in a change order, and then they're getting a new bill. If they don't have insurance, we're asking for photos or any receipts, or if they had any invoices from contractors saying how much the damage was, we'll accept that too. We were using FEMA claims, but the ones we looked at are nowhere near the cost of the damages, so we're not accepting that anymore, just because they're not getting the true value of it. So basically, that's what we're doing. I have an online. If you go to my website and go to the disaster relief, I think it's the third button, you can submit it online. You can submit it to any of the email addresses posted online, or you could come in and submit the documents. So it's kind of where we at now. I think we're close to about 1,000 change orders so far with damage reassessments, and still coming in every day. It's unbelievable. I've probably been through 4 or 5 of these hurricanes and never seen anything like this to this magnitude. So if y'all have any questions, please ask.
Hang on, Mr. Trosclair?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lonnie, you said that, well, business and residential, 50% business structural and nothing on inventory or equipment. Would that equipment and inventory come in under the loss section of it afterwards, or is?
So if you think about the way we tax a year in arrears. That stuff will work itself out next year. Inventory. So if you lost your inventory in August, inventory is reported monthly.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you add the 12 months up and then divide it, and that's your assessment for the year on inventory. So you're gonna have 4 months of no inventory. So,
Okay.
So it'll work its way out, and so now if you had a total loss where you're not reopening, and then those people, we're taking that off of the roll, yes. I mean,
Right.
because it's nothing left to,
Okay, but because that was my question, because, in pretty much any business that has structural damage, it's primarily roof, and if you had roof damage, contents and everything else, equipment.
Right.
But you answered my question. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Ms. Domingue?
Yeah, and I want to thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. You see so many rumors and so many people say things, and, one of the things I saw was, they're raising our taxes so that they can make up for the hurricane, and, they're raising our homeowners' taxes, and we know that's not true, and I know it's very complicated, and so many people are under so much stress that, you guys being open to be able to explain that to people, I think is really important. And I know it's still too early to talk about this, and this is something we'll be talking about next year, but we're really going to have to look at those ad valorem taxes and those taxing districts that, all of their income comes from those things, because I think especially on some of our bayou areas where
Yes.
we have people maybe not going back, we're going to see a big drop in that revenue source, and so that will be something we'll definitely have to all work together to come up with a solution for.
Right, and those bayou wards have been seeing a reduction prior to the storm. You have no all wells coming back online. You don't see the boats. You have very little industry. So basically, it's the locals who were paying the property taxes there. So they had been seeing quite for a few years now. As far as getting back to the comment about raise, they will see an increase next year based on giving the 10 and 15% back. That was cut this year. So they'll think it's a raise, but it basically isn't. It's just gonna go back to the 2020 value. I'm not gonna revalue it based on the renovations because until sales happen, we don't know what the renovation is gonna bring to the different areas of the parish. So that'll just depend on next reappraisal in '24 and based on sales on what's gonna happen then. But they will see that 10% and 15% go back next year.
Okay. And if there's any members of the public who are watching tonight, what's the number to your office they could call and ask any questions?
It's 985-876-6620, and if you don't get through, please leave a message because the phones have been nonstop from 8 to 4, and we probably got close to 800 online submissions, and that's not even including emails and people that are walking in. So just bear with us. We are there to help. It may take a little time, but we're gonna get through it and get the help you need.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And just to notice, if the audience is watching us on Facebook, I understand there's some audio issues. And over the last year, I have been working together with our IT people and to actually upgrade our system, and we were pretty close to it. And then the hurricane hit, and the providers were actually calling me ready to give us the presentation, and we weren't even in the council building. So I had to tell them, wait till we're in the building, and then we'll go there. And now that we're in the building, in fact, I spoke to a staff this morning, and we're going to go ahead and schedule those presentations, and we're gonna change out this whole system, and so it'll be great. Hopefully, within the next 3 to 6 months, it'll be here. So I apologize for that. Moving along, discussion relative to ordinance number 6959, litter, signs, notices, and structures. Ms. Domain.
Yes, thank you very much. I had put this on the agenda, and I invited Sheriff Saunier as well as Mr. Clay Nalcan to come to come tonight and to come talk. So I'm not sure which one of you guys want to come up first to come discuss this. And maybe this one will be better suited for Clay, and then I'll get you for the next one. Clay, if you want to come up. We have an existence, and the reason this came up is we've got a lot of these kind of fly-by-night companies or these contracting companies who are just putting these signs everywhere in the parish, and they're on parish property, they're on right-of-ways, and not necessarily the ones on private property, but the ones that are on public property. And so we've actually got an existing ordinance, and that was passed back in 1995, and it says specifically, unlawful outdoor signs, notices, and structures which have been placed on property owned by Terrebonne Parish consolidated government on public right-of-ways or servitudes constitute litter and are declared a nuisance. Such litter violations shall be abated in this manner, provided in chapter 14 of this code. And while I understand those first few days and first few weeks after the hurricane, it was probably pretty important to see those signs because there was no other way to get in touch with a contractor. At this point, we are able to use our electronic devices to get in touch with them. So I just think that it's a nuisance, and I'd like to see the signs gone. Mr. Clay.
Clay Notkin, Solid Waste Director, Terrebonne Parish, Ashland Landfill Road. As far as the signs, we have active policy going on that my crews are picking them up as they see them, but they're getting put back out. We probably picked up over 1,000 signs in the last month or so. That's all I can really tell you. We picking them up. If they're on public right-of-way, our contractors who's cutting grass on the right-of-ways been told to pick them up and don't put them back. My grass cutting crews are picking them up. My litter crews are picking up. My supervisors, when they're out in the field, have been told that they see it, pick it up. So they're taking them down. I mean, that's all I can really tell you is we taking them down.
Mr. Hebert, would you like to add something before we?
Well, y'all go ahead then. I got to.
Okay, Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thanks for coming, Clay. I spoke to you about this already, but I want to bring it up to the administration also about the communications mainly communications lines that are all over the ground throughout the parish. AT&Ts, the cable services, whoever else, anything but the actual energy lines, because I think the energy lines have pretty much all been either restored or picked up. That the ones that are on the ground seem to be mainly the communications type cables, but they're all over the ground still. And I spoke to Mr. Ernie Brown this week about it, and he was supposed, and he did follow up and send emails out, because he copied me on the emails to the different the communications companies. But there needs to be some kind of way that we can force these guys and push their hands to move a lot quicker than they're doing as far as getting these things up. As you told me when I spoke to you the other day, that these things are getting tangled up in your grass cutting equipment, costing you time and money, getting your stuff repaired and downtime. And it's costing us money as a parish, besides the eyesore being on the road and possibly busting people's tires or whatever this is doing. So I would like to see Mr. Toops or the parish, Mr. Hebert, see if we can, push these guys some kind of way and put some teeth into it. Maybe we can fine them if we have to, or whatever we got to do to get these guys to pick their trash up. That's all I got. Thanks.
Ms. Domingue?
Thanks. I have one more question. I just wanted to tell you, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I mean, I know you're getting a lot of heat from the public sometimes, but you guys are doing a phenomenal job. We need to remember it's only been 4 months.
Right.
And from where we were to where we are now is unbelievable. I mean, to think that we drove down the roads and we had to dodge all this debris. I mean, you guys are doing a fabulous job. If there is a constituent or a member of Terrebonne Parish who maybe has a complaint about these signs, could they call your office just as they would any other litter or something like that?
They can.
Okay.
And let us know where they're at. Again, you got to remember, like you said, it's got to be on public property. A lot of people's got them in their yards. And matter of fact, today I saw a business advertising for employees. It's on the borderline of state right of way and their business. I mean, do we go and take his signs? So it's a fine line that we got to walk.
Right.
And if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I got about the debris. If you don't mind on the.
Well, let's finish up on this first, Mr. Navy.
No, I just wanted to, and I respect the fact that what you just said, but I just want to thank you too for hey man, y'all did a great job. And I know we got a waterwork employee here too, and the sheriff and other staff that did a great job handling the situation with the storm. I know you're about to get to the debris, but before you do get to that, look, I appreciate you taking my calls. It means a lot to me when you do that. Take my calls and then address the matter. I'm very pleased with that. I mean, I don't even bother the parish president anymore. I just call you. And you get it done. So I do appreciate you with that, man. Thanks a lot. I'm kissing up because I got to call you for a couple other things, okay?
And Mr. Aber had a suggestion about the signs.
With regards to the signs, what I recommend we do is, and I don't think the parish president will have a problem, is I'll send a letter to the state contracting board to notify the contractors that are working in this area, to advise them that they cannot put signs in the public. I think that's the best way to handle it, is to let a memo come from the state licensing board, okay? And that's what I would recommend to handle that. With regards to the lines, I know the problem because I got one in my yard and I've called AT&T. They're using contracting services. I would advise that Mr. Toops get back with the PSC, Public Service Commission, or rep, let him contact him and tell him I'm being complaints everywhere that these cables in people's yards. I got one in my own, and let them come back down and come answer the questions why they are not burying these lines. They're supposed to be putting, I'm told, at least 4 inches deep, and I guess they have so many of them they're running in and running out.
Thank you, Mr. Aber. On the signs, okay.
No. And it's not just the energized ones. I'm talking about derelict ones that are just being run over and called up on the side. So it's not just the ones that they need to actually, that they're in use. I'm talking about the ones that are just discarded lines.
Yeah, I saw that on Country Drive yesterday. Mr. Clay, hold on.
PSC. So Mike needs to get back. He's already called him. I know dealing with the lights and stuff is to get back with Craig Green's rep. I think Mike knows who he is. David Zito.
Okay, debris, Mr. Knockhead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we're clear on the final pass that's going to start next Tuesday. We're asking people to have their stuff out so that we can start. The contractors will start on the north end of the parish and work their way up down. It's not going to be an overnight deal. It's going to take us several weeks to get it. So, but we have to put this out so that we can start on our demolition program. We have to show that we are winding down on our right-of-way. In the news release, there is an out. If somebody has property that they're going to be demoing, or they don't have, they're not ready for it, they can call this number and make arrangements with us. It's on the news release and everything. So it's not a absolutely drop dead date, but we have to have something in place for FEMA to show that we're winding down on the debris pickup.
Mr. Harding?
Yeah, Clay. We had spoke with Chris several times. He said that they were implementing a program for demolition. So this is for private companies, private property, to have their properties demolished.
Yes.
And what's the number that you mentioned that's there?
That number, well, there's a website and there's a number, but the number is 1-888-727-0228. And it's a pretty simple, deal. Our debris contractor, monitoring company is the one that's handling this. And it's not a phone bank you call in. The person you call is going to handle your call, and it's going to handle it all the way to the end till it's turned over to the debris company. So it's not, well, I told this one this, and now I got to tell you again. It's the same person answering it. As of tonight, we have 127 people that applied for the private property demo. We get calls, do I qualify? All I can tell you is fill it out, and the worst can happen, we can tell you no. If you don't lie on the application, everything, the worst thing we can tell you, no, you don't qualify. So apply and see where it stands at.
Yeah, and so after the 18th, this would be implemented, or soon after?
We are working on this, and we have petitioned FEMA for this program. FEMA has not officially approved it. It's not out the room that they, that they will. They always do, but it's a formality. We're just waiting for the approval. We have to show the need for it, and that's why they started this right before the holidays. We got so now we're moving on to the next step, and then we got to show FEMA that we're finishing up with the right-of-way collection. So these people, the ones who was able to do it, done it, and now we need to help them.
Yeah, and man, sometimes, when we have a mic and people record what you're saying, it's a slight loophole in reference to the demolition. And then we had a meeting the other night, and we were talking about, certain properties that had certain values. And so, how does that, or would that coincide with the nuisance and abatement thing, the possibility within those guidelines?
I say if it's a house that, and I'd say almost every house had some type of damage, and it was damaged by the hurricane. I don't want to give you an answer here, and then it's not it. But I mean, I would strongly suggest everybody apply and put, the biggest things that FEMA wants to know is that you're not getting compensated for the demolition, that you're not sitting back with the money and waiting for the parish to demo it, and then we're going to send it to the invoices to FEMA. They want us to show that upfront that the residents, the property owners, cannot afford it.
Well, thank you. I just want to make a slight clarification of that. Thank you.
Mr. Guidry.
Is there any deadline on that?
Right now, it's no deadline. We still asking people to fill it out. We getting calls daily and telling them to fill it out. We don't have a deadline right now.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure once people start seeing it and hearing that, that this program is going on, you're gonna get a lot more people asking to get this done, so I was just trying to see if they really had a deadline on it, or, because when you're gonna go down the bar, a lot of people don't know about this yet.
Right.
But when you're gonna start tearing houses down, and people's gonna say, well, FEMA came in and they tore it down, and that was no expense to me, well, then you're gonna have a lot more coming online to do that.
Well, what's gonna happen is FEMA's gonna give us the okay to do it, and they're gonna give us a timeline, 6 months or a year to get the program done. So whatever they give us the timeline to get it done, we can still, do the application as long as it's proven that it's something from Hurricane Ida, and they didn't have the funds to take care of it.
How about government buildings?
It will, from what we understand, that they will not do any commercial demolition. They will not cover that. And right now, we're trying to just keep them getting okayed with residential, because we want to help them.
Okay, because I got a recreation center that used to be tore down. So, all right, thank you, Clay.
All right, anything else? Thank you, Mr. Clay. A discussion relative to the enforcement of ordinance number 6959, litter signs, notices, and structures. I don't know if we've covered this, Ms. Domingue.
No, thank you very much. And this is a subject that Sheriff Saunier and I have discussed. And this isn't just enforcing this one ordinance, it's enforcing all of our litter laws. And this is also something that we had spoken about with Mr. Knockhand probably last year. And we were supposed to work on, penalties, fines, or whatever it is for litter. And then, of course, with COVID and then with the hurricane, things got kind of put on the back burner. But we do have a huge problem with litter in this parish. And so I would like for you to let us know how that's going to start to be enforced, whether it's a ticket or a fine or some sort of community service to pick up.
We have in certain areas where we notice, look, a gross litter that's dumping on parish property. We finally, they want to dump shingles, especially on, I think I've talked to some of the council members, on Bayou Sally. There's one little area, but it's been constant. And I mean, our officers actually caught people dumping there, and that is a gross littering fine, which is a little stiffer. And dealing with that, and at the same time, it's like you might go to jail, you might want to start cleaning it up. We've done things like that where I even had my detectives start investigating some of these areas where people are dumping. And that part really bothers me and very troublesome when people are dumping, when heck, they got all these places where they can be dumping, instead of dumping on the side of the road where it becomes an eyesore and it becomes problematic. As far as the signs, I will say this in the earlier stages, with the signs, when they started coming out, I started checking out some of these contractors coming in the parish. In the earlier stages, when they came on, I spoke to some of them that's out of parish, and I put them on notice. I said, if you think a looter's going to have a hard time here, I said, to commit contractor fraud in this parish, and a looter's going to be very light to what's going to happen to you. So I kind of put a lot of these guys on notice, and I would say this, the ones that I was able to talk to, we were checking out a lot of them that were putting signs so we know who's in the parish and operating, whether they're legitimate or not legitimate. But I'll say this, I think we've been pretty well from where we are now. We've had very little contractor fraud with everything going on in this parish. And is there a fear? Are they worried? Well, I hope they would be worried that the good people that's just trying to get their homes fixed, nobody's ripping them off. Because right now, what's going on in the parish, with the everybody's just trying to get their homes fixed, get back on their feet, and now we're dealing with somebody that might be trying to rip our good people off, and that's just not going to be acceptable. And I sent a message before: if you think a looter's going to get it bad, do that and find out what's going to happen. So, but it did act as a tool, some of the signs, to see who's operating in the parish. And like in the beginning, it may be important, but when it starts obstructing a roadway and it becomes a safety issue on an intersection where people got to see both ways, and with the added traffic in the parish, and it becomes problematic, I mean, our officers will pull the signs down, especially if it's obstructing a roadway, because obviously we've probably seen a big increase in traffic in the parish, because we obviously have more people in the parish trying to get work done, and you look on anything coming off of Highway 90 in the morning, you see a ton of traffic coming in the early morning. There's a lot of contractors coming in to do the work, and I certainly don't want to hamper that. I want our people to get their homes fixed and get back to normal as quick as possible. But a gross litter, I'm not beyond sending my detectives, and I have. And we will deal, and if we can figure out who's doing it, I think we talked about putting game cameras in areas so we can catch them. Unfortunately, if we post, it's just like anything else. You put a police car there, you know what happens. Nobody does anything. It's when we gone is what happens. So we're getting smart with some game cameras and things like that. So some of these areas where these common areas where they're dumping. So, you know, we're going to try to keep cleaning up and hopefully people get a message. And you hit them in a pocketbook, usually that teaches them a little lesson.
Mr. Harding?
Yeah, basically general statement, and I read the package, and one of my notes was saying that, you know, I mean, there is a fine, you know, I mean, could you go over some of the fines that may be related to this?
I think the first one on this sign, I think is like $25. Gross litter, and it becomes a little bit more stiffer fine, especially where you're looking at $1,500 fines on some of the gross litter. And look, and if they're doing a gross litter, and that's people that when you're seeing just outright, it's not gross litter is not somebody just throwing a piece of trash out of their vehicle. Gross litter is they open up the bed of their truck and they're just dumping stuff. And a lot of times you'll see it like on Highway 20. It's been a common, you see a lot of it when you get on Highway 20 up going towards Gibson area. People will just stop and dump tires, dump sofas, things like that. That's gross litter. No, you're looking at certain areas up to $500 fines, and that can be stiff. Most of your signs, I think the first one, I think we said it was like $25 or something like that, which is a small fine. I would ask this, when we have contractors, are they registered in the parish to do the work? Are they paying their tax or doing what they're supposed to do when they're in the parish to do the work? And I would ask that because if they're registering, that could be a sign. Hey, you can't put signs here and here to advertise your business. You can put on private property, but we might be able to mitigate that way as well, especially people coming into the parish to do work. And that would be a question I'm asking. Are they registered in the parish to do the work? That way we make sure they're insured. So again, it helps people. I mean, you're going to have small businesses, but a lot of outside entity that's coming in the parish to do the work. That would be a question I'd ask the council, and maybe that'd be an idea to find out. So when if they do register, we know exactly who's coming in. At least that's registered, and we have a little bit more oversight on those guys. That's probably putting more advertisement.
So they're a great idea, like a consumer, like a seal of approval from the parish.
Yeah.
And so they would show the badge like the
coming to do
people.
work in the parish, we just want to know, and you register. It ain't got to necessarily cost nothing. But while you're at it, this are the rules. While you're here, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. And now we have a little bit of oversight. I think those guys that are legitimate, we can probably pull it, and it's less likely for contractor fraud and minimize a lot of other issues which we may be dealing with.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned 20 because, you know, the tax assessor, we had a conversation in reference to 20. It seems to be in my district, and it presents a problem. And then certain other spots that within the city that we have this basically pop-up dump sites. So, you know what I mean? One sofa brings about a bed and everything else, and next thing you know, have a house full of stuff. So I think not just with the sheriff or there's the state, they have the same problem with their right-of-ways, and also, you know what I mean, the representation within the city. So, you know what I mean, we can serve notice to the people that are out there, you know what I mean, we want to serve these fines, but then, you know what I mean, I don't want to actually just look at a combination of policing and fining, and then we have avenues where we actually have like solid waste, and we don't want to tie you guys down just chasing down people that's throwing paper out the window. But if we want
Gross littering tends to upset me. When I see people, that really bothers me. Even as a police, when I worked on the street, somebody dumped a whole bunch of trash bags on the side of the road. I went in there, they left their junk mail, so I went and visited their address, and I cited them, and I said, you might want to go pick it up. And I mean, so, you know, we do stuff like that, and I've had detectives where we try to investigate, and especially those type of issues. But like I said, sometimes people dump, and obviously law enforcement's not there. It's just like, hey, we have people running stop signs in the neighborhood. Well, I'll put an officer there, but guess what? Nobody's running a stop sign. It's when the officer's not there. So we try to be as many places as we can, but when it comes to litter, and we got enough devastation and enough debris that we don't need to add to it. Right. And I ask the public, is like everybody just do their part. And I mean, I think this is a community effort to try to keep our community, especially litter, just take a little pride in your own area. And if everybody does that, I think we'd have a little bit better result here.
Mr. Navy?
Yeah, and Sheriff, I appreciate your due diligence with this and your addressing this matter. I can tell you this, in my district, especially in the Bayou areas, with me and Mr. Babin actually represent, the concern I have, and they have been notorious for doing this, dumping and drainage canal, obstructing drainage canal. And people don't realize when you do that, then you could cause flooding when we have these rain events. And you know how these rain events are in Terrebonne Parish. So I do appreciate, your aggressiveness for taking care of this, because that's been a big problem too. People just understand that when you dump in those areas, especially down those side streets with those canals that me and Danny Babin actually
And it's
represent.
ditches and everything else.
That's right. You're going to flood those areas. You're going to stop that drainage flow from flowing, and then we're going to give havoc to all these people trying to, say you ain't pumping out and all that kind of stuff. But when you go back there and ride, those people, they go in those hiding places back there, especially outside the city limits, and go dump.
The thing is, they go through that much trouble when they go to dump and go, they got a place for it there, and that's what kind of blows my mind sometimes.
Yes. So, yes, sir. So I appreciate that, but I just hope we could keep on tab on with that, because that's what my main concern is. Some of my headaches I do see in the district, in my district, they go dump, and then they don't even understand that the damage that you're doing when you obstruct those drainage canals like that. But thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, thank you. Sheriff, we've talked about it before by Sally Road, since you brought it up. As of today, Mr. Nakan informed me that the camera that we have in the Dulac area, the head of by Sally Road, is now operational.
Good.
And that is one that will pick up license plates.
Well,
hopefully, Mr. Guidry's can get done on the other end of by Sally Road, and that way we can catch the habitual people that are passing through. But of course, he has to deal with Entergy.
In problematic areas, we've had game cameras and we placed them.
Yeah.
And we might get a license plate of somebody doing it, and they have no idea the camera's there. But if we catch them, we're gonna deal with it.
And I don't care that I'm admitting now that we have a camera there, because the people that are doing that are not listening to this or watching this, nor reading it in the paper or watching it on television. And since we're talking about litter, I just got a text from Janie Boisin, who organized it last year in Dulac, and we're actually having a buy cleanup in Dulac again this year, and it looks like March 26th is going to be the date. And I may be wrong, but I think Mr. Nakan can maybe admit, I think last year in the one day we picked up over 20 tons.
Well, I know my office
trash.
during that time, I put water patrol out there because if they're along the waterways for safety, and I put an escort to kind of help, so we facilitate that on the side of the road. And our office, no doubt, is going to support any public function that wants to clean up the parish. We'll support it 100%. And it's good when you see people out there outside just trying to do the right thing, and we got to support those.
This is the people in a devastated community that want to help clean up.
It's a little bit. It's about pride and taking
exactly
pride, and it's a good thing to see.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Ms. Domingue?
Thank you, Sheriff, and I truly appreciate you being here tonight.
y'all.
And we sort of talked about this a few days ago whenever we talked on the phone, but your voice carries so much weight in this parish, and you're probably one of the most respected people in the parish. And if you say we're going to have a crackdown on litter, I promise they're going to stop littering.
We're cracking down, and I mean, one thing that really aggravates me with the devastation, and I mean, we can all share, we get frustrated with a lot of things. People dumping trash when we've had enough debris blown around, and we're just trying to make efforts to clean up with what Mother Nature did. We don't need to add to it. And people, especially when they got dump sites all over the place, just go put it in a dump site. You have a dump site, you can go to right in Ashland. I mean, I had to clean up some of my fence and debris that made in my yard. We loaded up in a trailer, and we went out there and we dumped it where it needed to go. And I mean, it didn't take no longer. They spend more time trying to find a place they can dump it illegally if they would just rode there. And you got your license showing where you go. And I mean, we have Isla Cuba, you got a place, they got several areas where they can go bring the debris instead of just dumping it on the side of the road and becoming problematic for somebody else to pick up. That's just, it's disappointing.
It is. Thank you so much, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank y'all.
Second.
We have a motion to skip and go to the 6:30 public hearing. Seconded. Motion by Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are in 6:30 public hearing. A, an ordinance to amend Section 21-30A to include Randolph Park and Section 21-31 of Chapter 21, Article 2 of the Parish Code to change the name of Gray Recreation Park to Randolph Park. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Gerald Michel. Seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Motion to adopt, Mr. Carl Harding. Seconded Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. B, an ordinance to amend the Homa Terrebonne Civic Center standard rental agreement to update by increasing the security fees rate effective as of January 12, 2022 from $30 per hour to $45 per hour for off-duty detail rates with a 4-hour minimum per officer, and to update the provisions of the agreement in general. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mr. Danny Babin. Second, Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye. Motion to adopt, Mr. Danny Babin. Second, Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Motion to go back in regular order, Mr. Gerald Michel. Second, John Amity. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We are on item D, resolution approving the holding of an election in the Recreation District Number 3A of the Parish of Terrebonne, State of Louisiana, on Saturday, April 30th, 2022, to authorize the continuation of a special tax therein. Moved by Mr. Steve Trosclair, seconded by Mr. John Navy. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We have a representative of Recreation 3A, Mr. Randy LaBeouf. Did you want to say anything, Mr. LaBeouf?
Randy LaBeouf, 110 Glen Hill, live in the neighborhood of Lafayette Woods, chairman representing the district. So here we are. The election was tied. So I guess it could have went either way. If it was one short, either way, right? That's how it worked. So I guess the point tonight is to get, the word out of, hey, look, this is not a increase in taxes. This is something that we're already paying. So we need to vote yes for it, for the sake of the rec district, kids and whatnot. We have some plans. Mr. John Navy been working on the community center in Village East. Got some land donated to us by Habitat for Humanity. So we got some plans in the future. So we're gonna need some funds to do it and maintain it. So that's why I'm here. And any questions from the council?
Mr. Navy?
Yes, and I'm glad you said that, because I talked to President Dell about this, and he made a commitment to me that he definitely will help that area out in the Village East area. We understand that you're the lowest millage in Terrebonne Parish, which I can understand that. But at the same time, the big misconception that was told, that the people had about this millage, and I know it was only 62, I think, or something like that.
Right. That was.
And a lot of people thought that this was a new tax.
Yes.
People didn't really understand that this was a renewal. And the other thing that I'm very critical about, we was a parish that was devastated by a catastrophic storm that I don't believe was a 4, it was a 5. And to hold an election, it was just about, I don't understand that with the state and what we did anyway, to hold the election. 2.5 months without actual catastrophic storm.
Yes, a lot of people were displaced. They didn't know where to go vote, and whatnot. I came here and did my early voting, but as for other people that's not in tune with it,
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And you had a lot of information that the public didn't even know about this election. So, and you're looking at 120-something people that actually voted in an area that you have 907 registered voters.
Right.
I know. So, I mean, and that's just my soul wagging with that. But I think that now I agree with you. The public needs to understand that some of that information needs to get out to the general public, that this is not a new tax. This is just a renewal of existing tax, and it's recreation. And I know the council is big on recreation. So I appreciate what you're saying. And like I said, I've gotten a commitment from Mr. Dove to really help. And I think the council would definitely do the same to support that area with additional funding from this parish.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
well, I could say this, that from looking at a lot of other parks and districts in the parish, we're doing pretty good. We got our park cleaned up. The light poles are straightened out. And a lot of people are calling us to practice. For right now, they want the lights. They want to come because the lights. And it's a little diamond in the rough. Lafayette Woods Ballpark, but yeah, judging by a lot of the other parks, we're doing pretty good. So we're moving forward, with a good head of steam. But yeah, this little blow right here, we definitely need to get over it. So everybody listening, watching, spread the news, vote yes, correct?
Mr.
April
Michel.
30th.
Mr. Michel.
Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
And yeah, we need to get people out to vote. The individual recreation districts are the backbone of recreation in this parish. And y'all are the ones that are doing the work out there. And y'all are the ones that know what work needs to be done. And y'all don't have you're not digging deep into the voters' pockets. You're just doing a renewal for a small amount. So I certainly hope people come out. It is very important that we maintain these recreation districts so they can continue to provide the excellent recreation facilities that they've offered over the last decades. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Harding.
Yes, and I think there's been some conversation previously, and then previous conversations about other recreation districts and the value and the quality of it. And the position really is up to the people then in support of that. And what I really want to say is I thank you for the stuff that you sent over to your district,
Right,
sent over
privacy.
to the Scott Lane to actually to help us out with that. So what I mean. It goes to show you as a parish that, if there's a need somewhere and then someone can provide that need, we can work together, So I appreciate it and I thank you and Rec 3
Always a pleasure to
helping
help
me out.
another district, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for coming to our meeting. It shows that you guys are involved and appreciate what all you guys do for the community.
We would have a better turnout, but a lot of the board members been dealing with they work at the schools, school bus drivers, so it's real tight right now. So,
Well, thank
any
you
more
very much.
questions?
All right, moving along. Item E, introduce an ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $50 million taxable hurricane recovery revenue bonds in one or more series of the parish of Terrebonne, state of Louisiana, and call a public hearing on January 26, 2022. Moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domang. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is introduced. 2, staff reports pursuant to Section 2-73 and 2-98 of the Parish Code. Parish President Gordon E. Dove recommends and requests the acceptance of his recommendation to appoint Jules P. Hebert as Parish Attorney and the following as Assistant Attorneys: Courtney Alcock, Derek Bersegay, Vincent DeGate, Chris Ernie, Kent Lee Fairchild, Craig Landry, John Loudon, Tanner McGee, Brian Marceau, Michelle Neal, Brianna Wilson Ogeron, Gary Williams, and Patrick Yancey. We need, I guess, a motion to hold for 2 weeks. Motion, Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We will revisit in 2 weeks. Item 3, public wishing to address the council. Mr. Floyd Bergeron wishes to address the council relative to fireworks and parish government.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we're going to just talk fireworks tonight. This is my 4th time here. I live at 201 Kelly Drive, Butte subdivision, Bayou King. Well, the first go around that the fireworks started, it wasn't too bad. But this last holiday, Christmas and New Year's.
Sorry about that.
This past Christmas and New Year's, all hell broke loose. And it started Christmas Eve night. And it was worse Christmas night. They blew up some things about twice the size of the cover of this. Put it in the middle of the street, and it starts blowing up in a circle, start going around, blowing up, and finally they got 6 gigantic deals in the sky. Now, I know that's got to be illegal, but according to the deal, did any of y'all go check those fireworks stands? I don't think so. And then New Year's night, all hell broke loose. Everywhere in the subdivision, they had these right here, because I went and rode around the next day and looked. But people put that garbage out, and this has got to be illegal. There ain't no 2 ways about it. Now, we got people, I live in an old neighborhood, and I use the word old on account of myself, but we got a lot of people that are homebound. They can't get out. I got one man retired from the Air Force. I'm pretty sure he has brain problems. The dogs went crazy. Now, this is what I'm going to ask you all to do. And I'm going to give you all a brief history on how fast things wound up with this deal. The sheriff was elected. I think he took, and by the way, I called the sheriff's office that night, and nobody came Christmas night. Nobody came. I got a friend of mine that lives in Mulberry. That's in the city limits. He had problems over there. He told me he called the city of police. Nobody went. But this ordinance right here, the sheriff took office, and the Public Service Committee offered this ordinance on October the 14th. No, wait a minute, I lost the page. Let me go back. On September 21st for this fireworks deal. Now, I mean, it went through, bang. So on October the 14th, it went to the whole council passed unanimously. And all the deals they had in here was the general public, nobody came to my house or anywhere in my subdivision to ask me if I wanted fireworks. I don't know. I talked to people in Broadmoor, Lisa Park. Nobody went over there and asked them about fireworks. This was rammed down somebody's throat. This was and listen, I'm telling you, I can't prove it. But about this time all this happened, somebody bought a piece of property on Bar Blue and paid $500,000 for the store fireworks. Louisiana Cajun Fireworks Incorporated in Pittsburgh, Kansas, the address was. To me, and I told you all that when I came, that stinks. Now, this is what I'm going to ask you all to do.
Motion to extend, Mr. Danny Babin, second to Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
I'm going to ask y'all to relook at this. Whatever committee it has to come to, the first one it went through, relook at this thing and give the people of Bi-Cane or District 3 or the whole parish. You got an election coming up in March or April. Put it on the ballot. Give me a choice and all my neighbors and everybody in Bi-Cane or wherever a choice of whether or not they want to be bothered by fireworks twice a year. July the 4th is coming up pretty soon, and we're going to be listening to the same damn thing all over again if y'all don't do something. Now, please, and I'm going to come to the next, what is it? What committee is it? Public Service? Put it on when next Perfect's deal that comes up. I'm going to come over here, and hopefully y'all talk to yourselves and going to do something and put it on the ballot in March or April, because I want to have a choice of whether or not I want to be bothered by all them damn bombs. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Floyd, and your council person's here, and so he's heard the request to put it on the agenda. Thanks.
And
Mr. Harding.
If I could add one more thing, Mr. Chairman.
Real quickly, Mr. Floyd.
The state fire marshal came on and said not to put anything in the street, and especially around blue roofs. And what we got around here? Blue roofs. And I called you about that. And my wife was sitting right next to me when I called you and asked you to consider canceling fireworks this holidays. And you never returned my call. So I'll be back for whatever the committees come up. I'm going to call Gerald or somebody, and hopefully you all have it on to discussion of what we can do to bring it back. I want silence. Listen, I'm almost 90 years old, and I'm too damn old to go through this.
Well, thank you, Mr. Floyd.
Thank you.
And for the record, if you listen to your answer machine, I did call you back. However, a lot of people think a chairman is all powerful, but a chairman can't cancel fireworks. It has to be the council. So we didn't even have a meeting before the time that you called. It would have been put on the agenda, advertised. It would have been a lot of things to do that. So just letting you know that that at the time that you called, it wasn't even feasible. Now's the time to be talking about it before July. Mr. Michel. Oh, okay, I must have pushed Mr. Harding already. Go ahead, Mr. Harding.
Yeah, Mr. Bergeron, you know, I live in the city, and really, I sympathize with you. You know what I mean? I think some of the things that are going on and going off in my neighborhood sound like cannons. I really think that we need to address it. I'm not really totally against fireworks. I think we also should address what type of fireworks could be used. as sold to the public as residents, in reference to comparing that to people that has a commercial license that can actually do it for a public display. And some of those things that are going on for my neighborhood, really, I didn't want to go outside. So, you know what I mean, as many people that can be in your favor, and some people that may look like, and it sounds like that you don't know what you're talking about, I'm here to say you know what you're talking about, because that's your opinion of it, and we're going to try to address that up here to make it better for a lot of other people, because everybody don't like fireworks. So, you know what I mean, we're trying to make it better for all the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michel. Hold on, Mr. Floyd.
Okay, Mr. Floyd, you can speak for just a moment longer on my light.
Okay, go ahead.
This was done too fast. I mean, the sheriff got in office and bang, 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 5 or 6 weeks later, it's an ordinance. Bang, 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 it's an ordinance. You don't do something that fast.
Mr. Floyd, I thank you so much for coming, and I'm going to ask Ms. Tammy if she would put it on our next policy, procedure, and legal committee meeting that we have to have the conversation with legal and see what options we have, if any, to discuss, you know, number one, how can we better assess what the public wants? Because in the time when it happened, I voted for it, but 90% of the calls, maybe more, that I got, people saying, you know, we want to have them. Whether or not it should be allowed in the street is an excellent question. How far from a structure that someone's living in is an excellent question. So we'll take a look at that. And I'm sad that we didn't talk about parish government, because I think there was a lot of good things to talk about that. But we can talk about that another day. Thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Navy.
Yes, I just want to direct, not necessarily to Mr. Floyd, but I just want to direct something in general to this. First of all, Mr. Floyd, well, you do live you live outside or inside the city limits?
I live in UK subdivision, Bycam, District 3.
Inside, okay. One thing about it, I'm just looking at, as far as from a policy standpoint, what we have here, the fireworks are illegal within the city limits. I do understand that. But no, wait, this is why I'm saying it, sir. Before this ordinance took place, we had the same problem, be honest with you. It was illegal to pop fireworks in Terrebonne Parish, but they did it all over the parish anyway. Oh, they did it in a lot, well, excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. And my problem is what I'm saying. No, I'm sorry, I'm not addressing you, but I'm just saying in general. My issue is with the situation is, I truly believe this. Whether you make it legal or illegal, and it was illegal before it was made legal, we had extreme problems with fireworks, city limits, outside the city limits. But right now, it's not legal to pop fireworks within the city limits, and I would argue the fact that now that is happening a lot, and it's illegal to do it, I'll be honest with you. But these neighborhoods are really troubled with a lot of that, and I can tell you in my subdivision, they went off like cannons, but it's illegal in my subdivision, but you know, I mean, you don't even have enough police force to try to police fireworks when it's that time. And you a police officer up there, you could agree. Well, we was in the ordinance. It was in the ordinance when it was illegal, and it wasn't really police. So I just think this is a double-edged sword. Yeah, we could put it on the committee, and I don't mind that. But at the end of the day, whether you make it illegal, the people are gonna. We don't have enough police force to really police fireworks during the time. I'm just telling you in general. It's not an argumentative situation. I'm not being argumentative. I'm just simply saying when it was illegal, it was very difficult to police that, and we never did. We couldn't. You had the police running back and forth with fireworks the whole night. Now I'm gonna tell you something about crime. When you talk about crime, you know some of the worst times when you commit crime and we experience crime, the high rates of crime is during the holiday time. And I can tell you now, you put the police force trying to police fireworks, it's impossible because they couldn't even do it when it was legal through the whole parish. So I'm just simply saying, from a policy standpoint, I just simply think that there may be something that we can craft to kind of control this problem. And I agree with you with one thing you said is that maybe we need to go police those fire stands and see what kind of fireworks that they're actually, you know, trying to sell in this parish. But at the end of the day, we all know this too. When fireworks was being sold, they went to the other parish and got these things, and especially these legal big fireworks. Now, there's a lot of creative things we could do with this, and I agree with you, what you're saying with that. I think that needs to happen because, like I said, I voted for it, but at the end of the day, I said to myself too, we couldn't police it then, we ain't gonna police it now. So I just feel like this: it's illegal in the city limits. We need to put something into it. We need to get law enforcement together, see what we can do. But I'm just simply saying, I know how impossible it is. We got a police officer there, and he can come in and tell you how impossible it is to go out to all these homes and there's people that's popping fireworks, because it's not like it's crazy. I'm being honest with you with that. And like I said, it was illegal then, and in the city limits, it's still illegal, and they're still doing it crazy in the city limits, still illegal. You know, and I'm not, like I said, it's not an argument. I'm not a yeah and nay with it. I'm just saying that we need to do something to kind of stop it, to try to minimize it from being all over the place like it is, you know, all the crazy stuff. But, you know, that's a daunting task to try to achieve.
Hold on, Mr. Floyd. Mr. Babin.
Yes, Mr. Michel brought up a good point. He asked to put it on the committee, and whoever that committee chairman may be, if it's still Mr. Michel, I would urge you to make sure the wording that you put it in is right so we can discuss it at a committee meeting. We just don't want to have an item on a committee meeting that we can't discuss. So I'm asking to make sure that we get the proper language, because I believe a committee is a working group, and that's where we should talk about it. Thank you.
I agree. Mr. Michel? Mr. Floyd, Mr. Floyd. Hold on, Mr. Floyd. Wait, Mr. Floyd, Mr. Floyd. Mr. Michel?
Okay, I want a discussion about it. I'm not proposing that we put an ordinance on it. I just want to have the discussion with certainly with those three issues on it. Whether or not it's what the public wants and how do we determine that, whether it's an election or what is it, whether it should be allowed in the streets or is allowed in the streets, and how far away from houses it is or it should be. So those are the items that I want on it, and I assure you, I will not be the chairman of the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee. Thank you.
You are. We didn't make that deal, Gerald. Thank you, Mr. Floyd. Listen, we're gonna put this, Mr. Floyd. We're gonna put this on the agenda, and we're gonna be able to have an updated, a full detailed discussion. Come back in 2 weeks. Thank you. You will. Yes. Thank you. Mr. Michel, did you want to
Yes,
add
in the
something?
spirit of jocularity, had we made the deal, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because you don't keep your word. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Seeing no more speaker cards. For committee reports, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. John Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on January 10th, 2022, and I have no public hearings.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Amity, second, Mr. Babin. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, Public Service Committee, Mr. Dirk Gidry.
I'll make a motion the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Services Committee meeting held on January 10th, 2022, and I have no public hearings.
Second.
We have a motion, Mr. Dirk Gidry, seconded, Mr. Carl Hart. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee meeting, Mr. Gerald Michel.
Make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee held on January 10th, 2022, and I have 2 public hearings. An ordinance to declare Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's intent to acquire full ownership of a tract of land bearing Terrebonne Parish parcel ID number 4153 with an owner of record Ronald Good, and to address other matters relative thereto, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, January 26, 2022, at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Michel.
I'm not finished. And an ordinance to declare a public servitude by destination under Louisiana Revised Statute 472235B over a tract of land bearing Terrebonne Parish parcel ID number 4153 with an owner of record Ronald Good, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, January 26th at 6:30 p.m.
Are you finished, Mr. Michel?
I am.
All right. A motion, Mr. Michel, second, Mr. Harding. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. The Codo Fire Protection District Board, 3 expired terms on January 1, 2022. Mr. Robert Parr expresses his wish to be reappointed. Ms. Patricia Prestenbach expresses her interest in being reappointed.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Parr, and reappoint Ms. Pressenback and hold the third.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Parr, Ms. Pressenback, and hold the third opening by Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, the Schriever Fire Protection District Board, one expired term on January 1, 2022. Ms. Jeanette Shakesnyder expresses her interest in being appointed.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Ms. Schexnayder.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Ms. Shakesnyder by Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item C, by the way, if anybody we appoint is here, please stand up after, and if you would like to say something. Fire Protection District Number 5 Board, one expired term, January 1, 2022. Mr. Kirk Chapinier expresses his interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Chapinier by Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Michel. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Chapinier is appointed. Item D, Fire Protection District Number 6 Board, one expired term, January 1, 2022. Mr. Kevin P. Belanger expresses his interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Belanger by Mr. Steve Trosclair. Who seconded that? Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Belanger is appointed. Fire Protection District Number 7 Board, three expired terms on January 1, 2022. Mr. Marty Dupre expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Bruce Wolf expresses his interest in being reappointed. And Mr. Thomas Horn submitted an application for consideration.
I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Dupree and Mr. Wolf and appoint Mr. Horn. Second.
A motion to reappoint Mr. Dupre and Mr. Wolf, and to appoint Mr. Horn by Mr. Dirk Gidry. And who seconded that motion? Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item F, Fire Protection District Number 8, three expired terms, January 1, 2022. Mr. Michael Anthony expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Johnny L. Marks expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Michael Anthony and Mr. Johnny Marks and hold the third. Second.
Okay, we have a motion to reappoint Mr. Anthony and Mr. Marks and to hold the third by Mr. Carl Harding, and seconded by Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, G, Fire Protection District Number 10 Board, two expired terms on January 1, 2022, and one unexpired term. Ms. Regina Pierron expresses her interest in being reappointed.
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Ms. Pierron and hold the others over for 2 weeks.
All right, motion by Mr. Danny Babin, seconded by Mr. Gerald Michel. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item H, Homa Terrebonne Regional Planning Commission, one expired term. Mr. Travion Smith submits application and resume for consideration, and Mr. Wayne Bunch submits application and resume for consideration.
Open, close, and vote.
Motion to open, close, and vote by Mr. Babin, seconded by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Roll call, Mr. Hampton.
Mr. Amade?
Mr. Bunch.
Ms. Domain?
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Darren Gidry?
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Babin?
Mr. Bunch.
Mr. Dirk Gidry?
Mr. Bunch.
Mr. Trosclair?
Smith.
Mr. Navy?
Smith.
Mr. Harding?
Smith.
Mr. Michel?
Mr. Bunch.
Mr. Chairman, that's 5 votes for Mr. Smith, 4 votes for Mr. Bunch.
Is Mr. Smith here? Oh, did you want to say something, Mr. Smith? Moving.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Item J, Recreation District Number 2-3 Board, one. Did I forget I? Yeah. Hospital Service District Number 1 Board, one vacancy due to resignation. Reverend Robert D. Ross submits application and resume for consideration. Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Steve Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item J, Recreation District 2-3 Board, one unexpired term due to resignation. Mr. Bill Juno submits application and resume for consideration. Do we have a motion?
Motion to open, close, and appoint.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Ms. Domingue.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Juno is appointed. Item C, vacancies to various boards. Committees and commissions. The Veterans Memorial District will have 2 unexpired terms due to resignation, one representing the parish president south of the Intracoastal, and one representing the American Legion Post 380, and one expired term representing the Vietnam Veterans of America. Recreation District number 3A has 1 expired term and 1 unexpired term due to a resignation. Recreation District number 6 has 1 expired term. Recreation District number 7, 1 expired term. Bayou Blue Fire Protection District, 1 expired term. Bayou Cane Fire has 1 expired term on January 1, 2022. Dakota Fire Protection District Board has 1 expired term on January 1, 2022, and 1 unexpired term due to a resignation. Fire District number 7 has 1 expired term on January 1, 2022. Fire District 8 has 1 expired term January 1, 2022. And Fire District number 8 has 1 expired term January 1, 2022. The Terrebonne Parish Tree Board has 1 vacancy due to a resignation. I'm sorry, Recreation District number 8 has an opening and 10 has an opening. That's 7, 8, and 10. Bingo. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board has 1 vacancy due to resignation. The Children and Youth Services Board has 1 expired term representing City Court. The TITA has 1 expired term representing Terrebonne Parish Council. Coastal Zone Management and Restoration has 1 expired term representing the public. And the Homa Housing Authority has 1 expired term January 1, 2022. The Homa Board of Zoning Adjustments has 1 vacancy due to a resignation. The vacant position is for an alternate member. 7 announcements. Parish President is not here, but council members, any announcements?
You said the Homa Housing Authority?
The Homa Housing Authority, it says, has 1 expired term on January 1, 2022.
So we voting on them now?
No.
Because I thought that's appointed by the parish president.
It's an announcement, I guess, to advertise for
just to advertise?
the opening.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I thought we getting into the federal government business now.
And I noticed, Ms. Tammy, some of these are repeated. Do we have to advertise them multiple times? We have to announce at each meeting? I'm sorry.
We normally advertise until we get an applicant, because if we don't advertise and people don't know about it, we'll run into the situation that we've had before about our board listing. So I normally just advertise until we get someone on that particular board.
And we just announce at each meeting. Okay. That explains it. Thank you very much. Mr. Harding.
Yes, I just want to say to everyone up here, we've been through the storm, the rains, and the COVID, and I think we can get through everything that's up here right now, and I appreciate everyone up here.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, I want to congratulate our chairman and our vice chair for the new year. Darren was chairman for the previous year, did a good job, and I expect he's going to continue the job. And Jessica, just want to let you know anytime you need any help or anything, feel free to call me, and I'll definitely give you a hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trosclair. Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yes, sir. This is not an announcement. Mr. Toops, when you call the Public Service Commissioner, can you please tell him that Dirk Guidry wants street lights down in Chauvin, all the parish? I mean, it's 120-something, 130 days with no street lights. This is getting to be ridiculous, you know. If they need to hire extra crews to come in here, if not, bring them back here so they can answer my questions again. Please, thank you, sir.
Can I respond, Mr. Guidry?
Yes, sir.
I sent an email to David Zito, and I copied council chairman to come back to talk to the council about the outstanding issues with the electricity and to address the issues with the problems with the gas lines. I have not heard back from him. I have not heard back from Atmos, and I have not heard back from South Coast Gas. So I will try to contact them again.
Why don't you see if you can find energy to put a for sale sign on all the equipment they got and move out of Terrebonne Parish?
I think a lot of people would concur with Mr. Guidry. Thank you, Mr. Toops.
Go ahead, Mr. Hebert.
Mr. Hebert.
One second, Mr. Hebert.
If we can't get him to come here, then we could do is request to be put on the agenda at the next Public Service Commission meeting, and we go to the meeting.
I would love to escort you over there, Mr. Hebert.
So if we can't get him here, we go there.
Well, hey, I'm game.
Okay, so, Mike, let's you and I get together and let's try and make a call instead of sending a message to Green's office And we're gonna tell them if they don't wanna see us in Baton Rouge, that they better come down here.
Thank you, Mr. Hebert.
You're welcome.
Yeah, let me know, because I would like to attend that as well. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, we've discussed this before, Mike, but I want to have continued discussions to make sure it's legal. If we have all of these lights out, I don't think we should be paying from the lighting districts to Sleeka, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, or nor Entergy, if they have not been changed. I don't know what the fee is. Mr. Guidry probably knows it better than I, but why should we be paying for a service that we're not getting rendered? So please, I'm just asking to legally check into that, all right? And the second thing is I want to thank the council staff that we have right now, Ms. Tammy and Mr. Keith. They've been working extremely shorthanded. It has been the two of them, and they are doing an outstanding job. And I would hope that the new chairman would remind everybody that there are deadlines to get things into these people, and there's only two of them up there working. So whether we as council or administration have something to put on an agenda, meet the deadlines that they put forth. Thank you.
We do have a good staff. Ms. Domingue?
Yes, and I'd like to congratulate Chairman Guidry on being chosen again this year to lead this council, and I'd like to thank the council for choosing me to be vice chair. And I truly hope that this council can find common ground, and that common ground is the work that we do for the people of Terrebonne Parish. So let's put our differences aside and let's work towards that common ground. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Michel?
If I recall correctly on the Entergy issue, our bills are based upon 95% of the lights being operational. They anticipate that some are not going to be. So they scale. This is what I recall hearing at some point in the past. 95%. Well, we're far below 95% right now. So I mean that we should have some justification not to pay them.
No doubt.
I'll have to go back and find them, but I know this came up. We had a bad accident that happened where light was out, and there's some old agreements with these, and I'll have to talk with Candace about it again. But I remember there were some old agreements. I mean, we'll have to pull them out and see what these agreements say, but we do have agreements.
Thank you.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, I apologize for putting it on the second time. I want to make sure that we're not getting gypped. But I want everybody to realize that's listening to this right now. Mr. Guidry brought it to attention, but I'm going to bring it again. Entergy has put an $11 a month charge on everybody that they service for 15 years. Now that's $132 a year times 15 years is $1,920. But you multiply it by 700,000 customers, and that's $1.4 billion that Entergy is going to take in over the next 15 years to pay for what they should have been fixing before. So I want the general public to start talking to their elected officials, especially the Public Service Commission, and say, how do they get to pay for theirs off the back of the people who got hurt? Thank you.
And I want to thank the council for putting their support in me. You know, I'm no better than any of you guys up here, and, you know, I'll work with everyone, you know, all 8 of you guys to see to it that this parish moves forward. So thank you very much. And before we leave, I'd like to say a special happy birthday to Mr. Jules Hebert, whose birthday's today. Happy birthday, Mr. Jules. Monthly engineers reports. As per Mrs. Steve Trosclair. Seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion adjourned, Mr. John Amity. Seconded Ms.
Second.
Jessica Domingue. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Good night.